welcome to Campus Debate. I'm Sana Khan. Today we are at the South Asian University and the topic that we will be debating is long-term peace and prosperity a reality in South Asia? Now the situation can be at best described as so close yet so far. We will be talking about what are the contentious issues, what these students with me here feel. Do they feel peace is possible? So let's get started. All right, my first question to you is, you are the new generation, so what do you feel about the problem areas that we are facing today? Do you think that peace is a reality? How do you look at it? Who would like to go first?
The question itself is really attractive, and the peace and prosperity as it looks is really fancy words. But coming to reality, whether peace and prosperity is a possibility in the long run in South Asia is a question and challenge. Since the establishment of SAARC and SAFTA and all the South Asian agreements to boost up and facilitate, but what I see the challenge here is the cooperation, the real political cooperation between the countries. As we all know that Pakistan and India are the two giant players in South Asia. While SAARC was initially being initiated, both countries doubted to join the SAARC. After India was convinced to join, Pakistan, it took 3 to 4 years for Pakistan to become convinced and join the SAARC agreement. Even now, we see that they are having their battleground in the sub-region, in other countries. They are having their competition, and they cannot trust each other. Whenever the military budget of India and Pakistan are being raised.
Now, let me just stop you for a moment. You made 2 or 3 very important points already, and I'd like to take this forward. First, you mentioned about the economic cooperation. Perhaps that is the key to solving the political differences that exist. We'll be talking more about that, and also about India and Pakistan, because these are the 2 key players, but the other countries cannot be left behind, because every country in the region obviously share a boundary. So let me ask other students as to, what do they actually feel that maybe economics is the way to solve the problem?
All right, good afternoon. I'm Muhammad Atikur Rahman and I'm from Bangladesh. What I think is the topic, whatever we are discussing today, it is only a reality at that point whenever we ourselves, each and every individual player starts believing it. If we believe it is possible, then only it's possible. There are issues. What I think, instead of concentrating on the regional issues first, we should concentrate on our local issues at the very basic points. Then it's all about growing the trust among ourselves. If we can, if we can afford building trust in each and every player, then peace is a very much feasible thing. It may take a little long time. With that, the big players should, India and Pakistan, they should play a really very, key role to establish that long-term peace and prosperity.
But tackling internal issues is not as easy as it may sound for individual countries. I want to ask another student perhaps as to why does it happen that when we are so close to achieving peace, let's say for example the Indo-Pakistan peace talks, that everything just tends to fall apart. There are issues within the countries as well, I'm not denying that, but what about when actually we come to the table and things seem to be working out, but then as I said, things seem to fall apart? Why does that happen? Why do you feel? Anyone? Yes.
I think peace or war, how you view them in binary terms, are fluid terms, they're relative terms. Peace is not something that's achieved. And it's not just located on a war front or in cooperation dialogues. It's also located in arenas like culture, in traditions, for instance the Ramayana, which the entire Asia shares. So I think where we locate peace and how do we define it, how do we tackle the various identities that are located within this region, how we view migration something as a strategic and as well as a cultural process is very important. And I think those should be the dimensions from where we should be viewing the process of peace building and cooperation building.
Yes, I completely agree with what you say, but sadly the leaders of these various countries, there's a lot of politics at play, and sometimes things are not as transparent as black and white as one may wish to. You there would like to make a point, please? Someone just, yeah, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Kulsum Khan. I am from Pakistan, which is fortunately and unfortunately considered one of the big players in the South Asian region. And with respect to peace, you had a very valid point about how we define peace. That is how the conversation started. So before tackling or even pondering over the entire issue of whether peace is possible in the long term or not, we first need to even dissect the entire definition of peace and understanding of how it is that in South Asia we as individual states understand peace. What is the notion of peace that we understand and comprehend? Secondly, when you talk about whether Indo-Pakistan relationship, whenever they come to the tables, we see a lot of times our states, our representatives coming to talk, but then those talks or even those agreements fall apart. I think from my personal perspective, we have to let go of what has happened in the past, but then are we willing to do that? Are we willing to let go of our historical vendettas, our historical differences? And even though it is always said that India and Pakistan have a shared history, which again is very controversial and debatable in its own right, but then for long-term peace and even for taking the process of progression ahead, we need to first understand peace, and we need to first understand whether we as India, as Pakistan, as South Asia are willing to, in the name of peace, for the sake of peace,
so
are willing to compromise.
The basics of the word peace are in question over here as we speak. It's a very interesting debate, and we hope it will get even better. Time for a very short break. I'll be back. Welcome back. You're still tuned into Campus Debate. Now let's get to more contentious issues over here. India has a very central positioning in South Asia. Now, what I want to ask you students is India in today's date acting like a responsible country the way that it is expected to be? Who would like to go on that?
Thank you so much. I am Muhammad Mahdi Farooq from Afghanistan. I just wanted to talk about India, what is acting of India in bringing peace in the South Asian region. So if we just look at the foreign policy of India, we can get easily to this one. India is like Indian regional policies toward for the peace is not quite well, because if you see that India has dispute over Tamil with Sri Lanka, India has some conflicts with Pakistan, and from the other side India has conflict with Nepal and with some other nations. You know, geography matters a lot. We are living in the same geography, so when we are living in the same geography, prosperity and peace can be brought with mutual understanding and with mutual belief. If we have that mutual belief, then we can have this economic cooperation or development in other things. But since India doesn't have that belief with Pakistan.
Since you're from Afghanistan, let me just bring up the NATO troops that are going to withdraw from Afghanistan in 2014. A lot of questions are being asked about that. Then what do you think, let's say, India's role should be in that withdrawal? What should India do better?
Especially in terms of Afghanistan, I have to tell that India is quite doing well in Afghanistan. We have lots of Indian companies who are investing in Afghanistan in terms of economy and all these things. And we have so many agreements that in Afghanistan and India has. We have a strategic pact. We have that military help from India. Even our president has come to the India for a long time back.
There I'm getting a very, very mixed answer from you. First you say that there is a lack of trust, India doesn't trust it. But then your point is very clear that India and Afghanistan have been very cooperating and very close. Someone else on this? You?
Not exactly on this. I just wanted to bring up on this issue. You talked about how responsible is India behaving towards the prosperity of the South Asian region. I just wanted to bring up on this issue that I just reading the news regarding the NHRC versus the Arunachal Pradesh thing. The Arunachal Pradesh people had this problem with the Chakma group, and they wanted them to be expelled out of the country, and the citizenship issue that had. But the Supreme Court of India came out with a decision that it is totally impractical and inhuman to get them out of the country, and it came out with the decision that no, we cannot talk about that, but we can redress the grievances of your people, your citizens, right? So it is really responsible on a part of the Indian Supreme Court that is coming with a neutral kind of a decision, not favoring even its own people, and it's looking for the practical side of it, right? So that's really
anyone else would like to talk about? Yeah, you go ahead.
I'm Puneet from India. And in the academic circles, there's the idea of world policeman. For example, people say that America and United States play the role of world policeman. Similarly, in the SAARC region, we believe that India should play a role as a regional policeman. First of all, it's a big marketplace. It's an economic superpower compared to the other countries. There's 7-8 countries. And the second is the shared historical cultural lineage that we have with other countries. So in that sense, India being a mature democracy can play that role. And if it does not play a role of a policeman, then what happens if India withdraws and any other country comes in? What are the options? First is, if India withdraws, there's nobody, and that option is very anarchic in nature, because if nobody is there, the condition worsens. The second is, the second country which can take up the position would be Pakistan, but Pakistan itself is unstable in that nature, and Afghanistan is a war-torn country right now, and other countries itself have ethnic conflicts, for example.
So Puneet thinks India should play the role of a policeman, all right. If not India, then perhaps Pakistan. But I want to have a take on what students from other countries think about that. Is it fair for India to play the role of a policeman in the entire South Asian region?
My point of view is that the idea of hegemonic stability will not work for South Asia, because India's all neighborhood is small countries, and they always have this threat perception from the India. Nepali countries, Nepali Philomans, they always think that India is manipulating their politics and do not want peace in the Nepal. Same as the Pakistan. Otherization is happening there always in Pakistan, and their identity of Pakistan is against India. What means is that the colonial past has always mediated our present and will mediate our future. So what I mean is that India should have a kind of peaceful neighborhood with all the countries in neighbor and
playing the policeman is certainly not something that you would agree with. Omar from Afghanistan, you said, right? You were nodding your head over there. What do you have to say on this?
I'm Alauddin from Bangladesh. So as Bangladesh share its border with India, and 90% of its border is with India, now India is making fence over the border, and there are lots of issue of breaking human rights, in killing in the border. So every country in South Asia believe in their sovereignty. So if we say that one specific country should play as a policeman, as a police force in this region, so we are denying the sovereignty of others.
I want to quickly take in a comment from her as well in the corner.
I am Chayanaka. I am from India. From whatever that I've heard so far, there is an evident sense of paradox in whatever that's been spoken thus far. On the one hand, we suggest that India is being a big bully. It's trying to boss around and just move around from one country to another country, and perhaps interfere in the domestic matters of the different countries that are part of the South Asian region. But on the other hand, we also hear comments which are directed at India and which wanted to serve the role of a big brother, that it should be responsible for creating a peaceful neighborhood, it should be responsible for this and that. So there is a sense of paradox that I think we need to overcome. I speak as no nationalist, but nonetheless I would want to point that as far as the idea and the concept and the empirical cases of conflicts that we have seen so far, it's not India that's responsible for it primarily. We always say that we clap with two hands. It's impossible for smoke to be there if there's no fire. So India, on one hand, is being blamed responsible for playing a big bully, but on the other hand, there are also notions that there are also demands that come from different parts of the South Asian region, and which are directed towards India, and which demand from India a kind of responsible behavior that can help in manufacturing a peaceful neighborhood for the entire region.
Right. There are a lot of other issues kept in mind here, but this idea that you, Puneet, brought about of India or any other country for that matter in a region trying to act as a policeman will be negated by a lot of people. Now, what I want to ask is that there are now elections coming up in many of the South Asian countries, either end of this year or perhaps early next year. Do you think that any changes that as you students, what are you expecting? Are you talking about any changes that might come about?
The election is always, there is some observer from the Western so-called progressive democratic countries in this South Asian region, but definitely election is an internal issue of a country, right? So I think media has a great role to play to protect the sovereignty of others, to protect the respect of others. How? Because that I have found in Indian Frontline, Times of India, they're covering that India, New Delhi wants the Awami League regime for the next time. means that New Delhi wants something to happen in Bangladesh. So definitely where there is two major
But those are just media reports. We cannot go by...
I'm coming to that where the problem of long-term peace. So it's related to our main motion. So when one report or lots of report published in this country that New Delhi wants somebody in power in that country, means that the opposition of that country, that opposite political party, they will raise their voice against this. So, and it's not an anti-Indian voice. It's a voice against the hegemony, against the intervention inside the domestic political party.
I get your point. Many students want to speak on this, but I'm going to take a very short break and come back and we'll pick up from where we left. Take a very short break. Welcome back. You're tuned into Campus Debate. We are talking about the forthcoming elections in many of the South Asian nations and the impact. Do we see peace coming about? Do we see a change in politics? Let me take a first reaction.
My name is Nasir from Afghanistan. I think the election in Bangladesh, India and Afghanistan will have huge impact in the future of this South Asia in general. If the right wing is coming in power in India under the BJP, it will change not only what is there in India, with doubting multiculturalism and the rights of minorities, to what is happening in Bangladesh, whether it is between the center and the right wing. Again, if any of these parties coming to power, which is most probable that the government in power may come to power again changes will happen in the South Asia. In addition, the election in Afghanistan will determine whether Afghanistan is on the right path or things will fall down.
Very well spoken there. Possibilities coming out already of who is going to win the elections. Yes, you haven't spoken till yet.
I'm Suraj from Nepal. And talking about the elections that we have coming in the end of this year, we are also hopeful about our constitution assembly and about that things. But as a part of a peace and prosperity to happen in the South Asia, there are two parts. The first part is the linguistic part, and the other is that is internal, and the other is the external part. And maybe we are hopeful for the external also, and maybe we are hopeful for the internal also. We should be hopeful for this.
So in short, you are hopeful. You there, Kulsum, you wanted to say something.
Yeah, we're talking about the upcoming elections, but with Pakistan, we've already had elections and we've had a democratically elected government. And well, it was sad because as soon as the new Prime Minister was sworn in, he sent out an invitation to the Indian Prime Minister, but the Indian Prime Minister refused to come here. And even there were talks about, especially in light of the recent LOC conflicts that we just saw in the month of August, that the Indian Navy and the Indian Army had actually advised the Prime Minister of India not to meet the Prime Minister of Pakistan. So when we talk about taking Puneet's point and everybody's point about India playing as a big brother or as the policeman, I highly disagree with that. Based on just because India has a large territory does not mean that impliedly it obtains the position of a big brother.
Right. I want to talk about China as well over here. Do you think the China factor impacts the feeling of oneness, the prospects of the feeling of oneness in South Asia? Who feels that it actually, has a huge impact, because China does play a very strong role with a huge amounts of investments in most of the South Asian nations.
So really talking about the role of China on stability of South Asia is a big issue, and I think very strong history on India, Nepal, Bhutan and all related countries. China shares a border as well in current world. So we should be think that there should be a vital role, and China is playing a very important role in establishing peace and prosperity in South Asia. And we all South Asian countries should think of it and should have a...
So you're saying the South Asian countries should keep a check on the way China is slowly increasing its influence.
My name is Sudesh Pokhrel. I'm from Bhutan. But I'm an origin of South Asia. So why we are talking about Pakistan, why we are talking about Bhutan? I'm from Bhutan, but it doesn't mean that I don't fall in South Asia. We fall in South Asia, so we should talk as South Asians. We shouldn't talk as, like we are here as, the establishment of this university itself is a proof that we are taking steps for a peaceful resolution in South Asia. Whatever it is that, like, for example, China, you mentioned China. There is a lot of border conflicts with China and India. That lines are built by people, individuals, not us. So when we go back to our country, we shouldn't be narrow-minded and nationalist that we say that we are from Bhutan.
Absolutely.
We should say that we are from South
We should start
Asia.
at an individual level. First, we should think of ourselves as South Asians, and
I'm
then
Subhi from India. And even though we consider China as one of the emerging hegemons, and it could act as a force for solidarity among the other nations in South Asia, South Asian regions, China has a very, very clear policy of a capitalist nation where it believes that it is not interfering. It is just looking out for markets and without interfering in any of the democratic rights and means.
So that's
it's very
China's
clear.
excuse. That doesn't take it away from the fact that it should be kept under check. Yes.
Yeah, hi, I'm Pankuri from India. So now again, with regard to China's role, what I feel is that, I mean, it's not all that an economic role that it's playing. It also has certain other dimensions. For instance, if we look at the China and Pakistan angle, there is a lot more than just economics happening there. What was the transfer of land? There was a transfer of land to China from Pakistan. And, things like that, they kind of give you a sense of, apprehension about China and what exact roles is it playing. Moreover, if you look at other areas, I mean, the India-China conflict, I mean, not conflict so to say, but yes, the border issues and the issues that we have with China, it shows that there is something going on. Probably it's not just about China having the very best of intentions for us. Maybe there is something else going on in the background. Which could be to keep the region a little divided and just be with Pakistan in a certain sense.
Absolutely. So China comes into play over there, where it's being used to counter perhaps a role of India that India plays in South Asia. Anyone else who hasn't had a chance to talk to you?
Hello, my name is Manish. I am from India. Yeah, China has a big role because they have good relations with Pakistan, but they have conflicts with India. So when it comes to peace, they are the main giants that they don't want peace. It seems like that because they come to our borders, in Indian borders, and they give lands to and weapons to Pakistan, which is quite a bit surprising, but it's showing that they don't want peace. So it's a big impact. Yeah, it's a big impact.
China does play an impact. Anyone else who would like to talk about what's hampering the peace in the region? I'll come to you after this.
I am Gav from Nepal. In different time periods, different regions have passed through different trial and tribulation. Like USA, America passed through civil war in 1861 to 1865. Europe passed through different wars and revolution since centuries of years. I don't think South Asia is different from, exception from that part. Like Samuel P. Huntington has said, in itself, traditional society is stable and modern one is also stable, but regions suffering during the process of modernization. That according to that his statement, I think that these all challenges which we are facing are the effects of modernization. We don't have to worry about these kinds of challenges like ethnic conflicts in Nepal, like Madhesis and Pahadis, in Sri Lanka, Tamil and Singhali, in Bhutan, Nepali and Bhutanese, in India, tribal and non-tribal. We have to confident that we are 100% confident that there is possibility of peace and prosperity in South Asia because we have started to run on the track of...
I get your point. Please pass the mic quickly over here.
Thank you. I'm Fatma from Maldives. What I think is what we should do towards a peaceful prosperity in the SAARC region is to let aside the feelings of nationality and be a more neighborhood. I mean, all the religions in this area preach a neighborhood principle. So I think we should be more cordial towards each other and more understanding about each other.
So there are a lot of different opinions, but one thing is for sure, an area so rich in culture and heritage, South Asia, there is a strong possibility of peace. The students, at least with me here, seem to think so. There are impediments along the way, but none that cannot be overcome. This is me, Sana Khan, signing off. We'll be back with another interesting topic on Campus Debate another time. Goodbye.